I can always tell when my Achilles heel starts acting up. It does this from time to time. My Achilles heel has brought me to my knees, sometimes out of nowhere like a lightning bolt with perfect aim. Other times it's a slow burn. Each time, a fluttering in my stomach, increased heartbeat, and revving thoughts. The first time it flared, I was in kindergarten. His name was Rocky. Rocky was a tow-headed boy who wore an Evel Knievel costume for our Halloween parade. He was so cool. And maybe if I loved him, I would be that cool too. I was done for. I fell in love. He was the one. It was fated to be forever. Well, forever it wasn't. Shortly thereafter, my Achilles heel acted up again. This time it was Scotty. Scotty had hazel eyes that sparkled and a freckled face with dimples. He told me he loved me as we passed each other in front of our third grade classroom in the hallway. And I had never heard the L word from anyone other than my family before. And even though this was the only thing Scotty ever said to me, I just knew he was the one. I fell in love. It was fated to be forever. Forever, it wasn't. I thought maybe I needed to see a doctor about my Achilles heel because it really seemed to be a problem about once a year all throughout my early school years. After Scotty, it was Keith, and then Jim, and then Brian. Brian was the first boy I talked to on the telephone, the kind of phone with a long, curly cord I would pull onto the landing between the kitchen and basement doors so my parents wouldn't hear. Brian had an earring in one ear and a skateboard and was the brooding, silent type. Maybe if I loved him, I too would think deep thoughts. I was done for. I fell in love. He was the one. But by the time I got to 8th grade, Brian didn't stand a chance next to Tim. Tim was an undercover poet who wrote to me pages of notes folded into intricate squares, passed between friends, or left in my locker. Effusive and assured in his love for me, I had no choice but to fall in love with him back. And this was 1986, and with this love, I would have my first kiss. There is nothing like it. A first kiss filled with that anything's possible magic. I was really done for now. He was the one. Being a teenager with a pesky Achilles heel was admittedly kind of fun. Flare-ups came more frequently and died off just as fast. I never even felt the pain. There was Adam and Dave and Mark and Matt, and I was kind of getting used to it. I just thought everyone had one of these, so I never really questioned it. I went off to college. And during that first week of class, I saw him there across the lawn, the most beautiful boy I had ever laid eyes on. Carlton was tall with a swoop of dirty blonde hair. It would be 3 years before we would meet. I was standing in the line for the bathroom at the Gamma House, and Carlton walked straight up to me without saying a word and gave me a kiss on the lips. In 1992, consent hadn't really become a thing yet. So, late at night, after being out with friends, he would come up into my room in the lopsided house I lived in off campus, smelling of snow and pot and wet wool. Now, it is a combination upon first blush might not seem appealing, but believe me when I tell you that it was. By early adulthood, I noticed that my problematic Achilles heel had altered my gait, just enough where my pace sometimes seemed out of step with my peers. The drumbeat of marriage and babies was so loud, I could barely hear my own voice competing with the societal rhythm. Everyone kept telling me I would meet the one soon enough. And I'd been indoctrinated by tales of the one since well before Rocky. The one would be a custom-made dreamboat just for me. The one would fulfill my every need even before I knew I needed something. And the one would be with me forever until death do us part. Quietly, I wondered, was there really only supposed to be just one? No more first kisses? That just did not seem right. And while I wasn't altogether convinced I needed to follow the same path, I didn't really see anyone else out there charting a different course, so I just kept going. Ben and Ralph and Paul and Chris and Andrew. Chris was a writer and a carpenter. I would walk into his place and see him sitting there with his glasses on at the computer writing his screenplay with sawdust in his hair. And Andrew, with his subtle southern drawl, playing Bob Dylan on the guitar. I mean, what's a girl supposed to do? And it went on that way, me searching for the one. And in 2009, I found him. Aaron had dark, wavy hair, and at nearly 40, that he even had a full head of hair was enough. He had the best smile, with jeans worn and faded just so, the wad of cash he seemed to spend so effortlessly on our first date, the washboard abs he acquired after his last divorce, and the hidden, if not questionable, tattoos placed in just the right spots so as to cause intrigue rather than alarm. But it was the light that shined from his deep amber eyes. That light shined right into my soul. No one had ever looked at me like that, like I was his prized possession. He was the one. I became his wife, his second wife, but that did not diminish my place upon his pedestal. I stood there glowing from the light he bestowed upon me. For 7 years, I never wanted to be anywhere other than in that light. The problem is, it's really hard to see with that bright light in your eyes, and so it took a while to discover in that 7th year that he also had an Achilles heel, and her name was Kate, and he chose her over me and our marriage, which meant forever it wasn't, and I was done for, and this time in a really different way. My Achilles heel had done a number on me. Everything hurt, and I couldn't move for a really long time. And then, eventually, I could. I had enough strength to sort through the rubble of that broken pedestal and the pieces of my heart, and I could finally see without that damn light in my eye that the one I'd been searching for all along was with me all along and was, in fact, me. All told, there have been 37 incidents with my Achilles heel. In this 52nd year of life, I can safely share that my Achilles heel has begun to heal, slowly and not without the occasional flare-up. Last year, his name was Jason. Thank you.